What's up, everybody? Welcome to Heresy Financial. I have a very special guest for us today. We've got Ken Lewis on the line. He's the CEO of not only of APMEX, but also of OneGold, which, as you know, if you've been around the channel, I talk about OneGold a lot. So thank you so much, Ken, for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for the time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. In light of everything that's going on today, I've got a bunch of questions for you today, and I'm really excited about the insights here that we'll hear from really an insider to the industry here. So basically, for those who aren't aware, just wanted to hear a quick introduction, brief history of APMEX and OneGold and yourself.
Yeah, hey, real quick. So APMEX, 20-year-old company, primarily kind of the Amazon of precious metals. We ship gold and silver to your doorstep. And we've been doing it, like I said, for 20 years. We got about 1.5 million customers. We've done about $13 billion in business. We think we're the largest here in the U.S., probably the largest in the world online. And, you know, we do it one customer at a time, right? So we're really known for customer service and taking care of that customer, really broad assortment, competitive pricing, and really nice interfaces, right? We put a lot of time into our website or apps and really try to make it easy to buy. OneGold is kind of our attempt at digital gold, where some people don't want metal sent to their home. So we try to give them a solution that's more of a fintech play, kind of like the interface reminds a lot of people of Coinbase. That was an inspiration for us, where it's really simple to take ownership of gold, know you have title, know it's insured, but not have to have it shipped to your home. And so that's what OneGold's all about. It's about a 2-year-old company. The beautiful thing about OneGold is it's exploded. We've got over 75,000 registered users. We're going to do north of $200 million. We did north of $200 million last year in business on that business, and it's literally 18 months old. So it's really kind of an up and comer and a new way to own precious metals. So my background, 10 years here at APMEX, not a background in precious metals, primarily a retail guy, and frankly, Fortune 100 companies, and got a chance to do something in a smaller atmosphere, and it's been great. It's been a great run, and frankly, I hope one day I retire from APMEX. It's been really that kind of enjoyment from a workplace standpoint.
Oh, fantastic. It's kind of funny that you brought up Coinbase, because I noticed myself how similar the user interface is on the apps, which is a good thing. It's very, very simple to use that right. OneGold app. And it was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, right in the height of kind of the whole crazy, supply shortages, especially, when over the weekend, a lot of people had to shut down sales until the futures opened up. I went on OneGold just to prove it, and I redeemed some of my holdings, and it only took like 5 days. This is a 10-ounce bar, you can see from APMEX. It took a couple of days to come in the mail. So nice. That's one of the things, we'll get to in a little bit, that I really appreciate. It's like, if it's there, or they say it's there, you should be able to get your hands on it, which not a lot of other platforms do. It's kind of difficult to get your hands on digitally, digital gold or silver, if you will.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. And look, we won't sell metal if we don't have it. So, a matter of fact, platinum, we really have had a hard time getting our hands on platinum. We turned it off the platform last Friday, just because if we can't go out and secure it, we don't want to sell it. And that's a key principle behind the company. And unfortunately, there's a lot of ETFs and others out there that claim they're backed by metal, but the reality is it's almost impossible for them to be able to deal with the sales they had and have metal. So we're absolutely a believer in that. And it's a core value of how we operate, and always will be.
Well, I'd like to dive into that a little bit more then. In light of what's going on right now, if you could talk about kind of the supply shortages, the difficulties you guys are having in sourcing the metal, and then how that's impacting, the customer and being able to, deliver something that, people want to get their hands on.
Yeah, I mean, look, we had for those 3 days over the weekend, when silver squeeze kind of got to be the rave, we sold more silver in 3 days than we sold the entire month of December. So, I mean, the demand was just extreme. We actually had to close down sales Saturday evening. Most people don't realize this. Precious metal retailers tend not to make money on the price of metal. We hedge our positions completely. And that particular weekend, we take a position in the futures market, predicting what we're going to sell that weekend. And the sales far exceeded anything that we had expected. We were able to, with partners around the world, cover our short position before the markets opened by buying metal from them when the markets were closed. But even then, we had to shut it down because we couldn't find enough metal out there to cover our position, or else we would have lost millions of dollars potentially when the markets opened up like they did. So metal demand has been skyrocketing. We look at our demand specifically at silver. It's really been off the charts on silver. Gold's been strong. Silver's been crazy. And so we have to go out and we source metal. The challenge for us on the APMEX side is we're sourcing retail ready metal. So you got to have it like the APMEX bar you have there. It's got to be minted. It's got to have certain stamps on it telling the purity and the size. And to go out and get minted product is a lot harder than for me to go out and buy a 1,000-ounce silver bar that's on the COMEX exchange. Where OneGold, I can actually go out and buy 1,000-ounce bars all day long. Typically, I can put that in the vaults, and I can sell OneGold without a problem. But on the APMEX side, what's happened is I've bought up every metal I can get for a period of time, and I'm still on delay in being able to get the orders out the door because I have more orders downstairs than my guys can get out. Now, I will tell you, some products are harder to get than others. Production silver, like you were holding there, I was probably 3 to 4 weeks out on that. And what I mean by that is I can sell a future date, but I'm not going to sell metal that I don't have a commitment on from the mint. So I've shipped the mint the metal. They've got a production schedule they're going to deliver against. I'll then pre-sell that. I won't pre-sell if I don't have metal there because we don't want to sell something and then find out we can't get it and disappoint customers. It'd be really, really bad. But then there's areas like Silver Eagles and Maples and things like that. You're just lucky if you can even get it right now. The U.S. Mint, as an example, has already gone on record. They're issuing a new design for the Eagle in the middle of the summer. It's going to be a great opportunity to have a new opportunity for a product out in the market. But what they basically said is, as of May, first week in May, they're not going to make any more Silver Eagles. Well, I'm an AP, an authorized purchaser of the U.S. Mint. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to run out of Silver Eagles before July, which is when the new design is going to launch. There is no way, it's impossible for me to stay in stock all the way to July based on what demand's doing and based on what supply I can get. And so it's going to be a challenge. Premiums are high. It's frustrating that premiums are high for, I'm sure, our buyers right now, but we just can't get the metal. And when we can get it, we're paying a lot more for it. And that's just supply and demand's driving premiums higher than they would normally be right now.
So it sounds to me like that's really a dynamic showing up in the markets where there's a big divergence between what the price of the metal actually is for a person to get their hands on versus the paper price, because the spot price futures, this is just a lot of institutions buying and selling paper back and forth, never requesting delivery. If all of that was being the actual spot price would be similar to what the physical price is, right?
You nailed it. I mean, always physicals going to be more because there's minting costs, logistics, there's fraud, there's insurance, there's other things we deal with from a cost standpoint. So it's always going to be more money than an ETF. But the dislocation, the amount of difference between physical retail now and paper is much larger than it normally would be. Yeah. But look, there's also products like OneGold where you're buying silver at, what are we at, 3% right now? So you can buy silver for 75 cents an ounce, knowing it's physically there, where my retail best price is probably $5 over right now. So it's not quite as bad as buying physical retail to the home. It's more economical. And a lot of people, frankly, what they do is they buy OneGold and they convert it to physical like you did when premiums come back down.
Right.
It's a great strategy.
And the nice thing about that is that, like you said, the reason why it's cheaper is that you're buying basically a sliver of a 1,000-ounce bar.
Right.
And so you're not paying for it to go through all of the process that it needs to go through to turn into a Silver Eagle.
You got it. And not only is it a sliver, it's a 1,000-ounce bar that's not got some pretty design on it, that didn't have to have a mint do a lot of work to it. I don't have fraud. I mean, OneGold has really no fraud because I'm holding the metal. So, if you want to not pay me or you want to claim you use someone else's payment, I got the metal sitting here. So I'm always really true. So my costs are just a lot lower in that environment than they ever would be on a retail product that has to be delivered to a home.
And then hypothetically, then since the bottleneck that's showing up in the markets is refining or turning it into the final product, but since you have basically the silver grain, or you've got the 1,000-ounce bars, hypothetically, if every single OneGold customer said, "Send me the silver or the gold," you have the raw material to then, it might take a while, but you could turn it into something that they're requesting.
100% accurate. And it's funny you say that. I bought about 2 million ounces of silver literally in 3 days. And that silver was 1,000-ounce bar form in grain. And what's nice about my business is I need the for OneGold, but I also need it as APMEX to send to my manufacturing partners.
Right.
So I've always got, I mean, I literally got 1.5 million ounces of silver sitting on the sideline right now that I'm sending or feeding to my mint partners. Why do I do that? Because I can't risk running out of silver and not be able to mint it.
Right.
So I'll take a very significant position. I got a beautiful balance sheet. So I'll take a significant position and just sit on it for the next 8 to 10 weeks while my mint partners are making it into physical retail product. So I'm always in great shape. Normally I can buy that silver as I need it and I don't have to sit on so much of it. Right now, because we're nervous about the markets and availability of that metal, we'll take a large position and then just feed it as we need to and know we're going to always be in good shape.
So it sounds like, at least with silver, it's not really a problem to get your hands on the raw material. Is that the same situation with gold? And if we have kind of like a squeeze, everybody running into gold like people are doing with silver right now, would the problem with gold be more severe than silver or less so?
Well, look, first I'll tell you is I can get 1,000-ounce bars off the exchange fairly easily right now. I can't get grain in the US right now. So silver grain, I'm actually having to bring from Switzerland right now.
Gotcha.
So it is a little tighter to get silver than it was, like I said, 4 to 6 weeks ago, which is why I've taken such a large position. I'm also lucky in that I deal with some of the largest banks in the world who tend to have the largest position in silver. So I'm able to kind of get in line and get that metal. I want to make sure your listeners understand that I don't believe silver can be squeezed in a month or in 2 months, but I believe silver can be squeezed over 6 months or 9 months. And honestly, when you look at silver demand and where it gets consumed, the production gets consumed, 50% of it goes to industrial purposes. And you look at things like solar and EV manufacturing and where the future's going. By the way, it was at a 9-year low. The amount of silver mined was at a 9-year low. So I do believe silver could become tight in the future. Right now, we can get our hands on it. Gold, on the other hand, you saw what could happen to gold last year, right? Last year, you had this massive difference between London and the COMEX, the difference between physical and paper, basically. It was like an $85 difference because people were concerned about the ability to deliver gold to the exchanges. And so they discounted like $85 at one point. Although that normally runs like $1 or $2. So gold, if there's a run on gold, it can take out that gold supply in a hurry. But it's a lot of dollars, right? Because to make it run on gold, because of the price per ounce, it's a lot of dollars you're dealing with. There's more silver on the sidelines than there is gold. So in my personal opinion, if someone had the dollars, they could squeeze gold a lot easier than they can squeeze silver.
Right.
But do I think we're going to have a time where we can't get our hands on it? I will tell you right now, I'm having a difficult time getting bars right now. So 1-ounce gold bars, I'm 3 to 4 weeks out in getting those from several of the key manufacturers. All that product's coming out of Europe right now. And what they've done is they've narrowed their production to where they're only making 1-ounce and 10-ounce bars, and you can't get any other form factor right now. You just can't. So gold is already tight as it is. If gold had a run like silver has had the last few weeks, we could see some really, really tough supply problems out there, in my personal opinion.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a little bit more difficult just because of the dollar amount difference.
Right.
But in terms of the amount that's on the sidelines ready to get shoved into play, it could tip over a little bit easier.
You saw it firsthand last March and April. Last March and April, I mean, you had companies, banks actually, who lost a lot of money, by the way, when London and the COMEX kind of disassociated. They lost hundreds of millions of dollars lost by the banks. But guess what? Guess who was also the guy that was delivering everything to the exchanges and buying up all the gold they could in the market? Were the same banks. They were basically going through and trying to cover themselves as much as they could. So the banks lost a ton, but then they also been able to stretch their ETFs back or change their physical EFPs kind of widen, and they were starting to make their money back 1 ounce at a time. All that money they lost in the front end, and they were consuming massive volumes of gold in the market. I mean, basically, if you're a gold refiner, You just made kilo bars for 4 to 6 weeks, and that's all you made, because the banks would pay you $5 an ounce over just to deliver it to the exchange. So those times can happen. We saw it last March and April. I mean, there's no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Which brings up some concerns from a lot of people saying like, hey, look, things don't make sense right now. We know supply is tight. We know it's hard to get, your hands on it. But at the same time, especially with gold, it's been dropping for 7 months straight. Like it's been bleeding. How do those two match up? The only solution that comes into people's mind is there must be fraud. They must be pushing the price down so that they can get their hands on it.
Yeah. Look, I think I have to be careful. I don't like to be a conspiracy theorist and stir the pot. But, I look at silver, I think, is got arguably more manipulation, or the banks have more control over silver than they do gold, in my personal opinion. And look, I just used the example of what happened a few weeks ago when we had that run that weekend. The COMEX then put out margin calls where they dramatically grew our margin requirements if you had futures covering your position. And I had to write a multi-million-dollar check for a margin call. The minute they did that, the price of silver dropped $1.50 an ounce when it had run up. So that just shows you how even the COMEX can manipulate the price of metal. And you ask yourself, well, why did they really do that at the end of the day? Well, what people don't realize is when they made that margin call difference, and it went from like 14 to 18%, most guys aren't dealing directly with the COMEX. They're dealing with third party. My margin calls doubled. They didn't go up 14 to 18. They doubled in what my requirements were. So what does that do? It kind of squashes, the interest in silver to a degree, brings the price back down. So look, I think there's examples of like that with JP Morgan and others out there where silver's had a history where it's maybe been at times debated how honest that price is. Mm-hmm. Gold, on the other hand, look, what I look at is all the indicators, right? Why is gold moving down? Lately, it's been this whole 10-year treasury and how the 10-year treasuries moved 55, 60% in the last months upward. And now all of a sudden it's like, well, gold's not an interest-bearing asset, so we're going to penalize it because we think long-term interest rates are going to go up. All right, I get it. I buy into that. But honestly, can the government afford for interest rates to go up anytime in the near future with all the debt they've printed?
Right.
They're not going to let it happen. It's just not going to happen. So I'm honestly confused. I don't understand why gold has gone down so much. Mm-hmm. It confuses me. But I like to always tell people I'm not a forecaster what metal prices are going to do.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, I've always said, if you buy gold, also have some equities. And when one does well, the other one typically doesn't do as well, and vice versa. And put metal in there as a diversification strategy more than as a pure play for a return on investment. And I think that's something I think people have to give a lot of thought to.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, with the, with all of the concerns about, some of the potentially sketchy things that are going on out there, especially with some of the large ETFs, right? Yeah. That, it looks like how in the world could they be sourcing this much metal? What are some things that, so like historically in America, FDR took all the Americans' gold. Nixon took the gold from the rest of the world. And so people are like, hey, I don't want to store it myself. But nowadays, it's like it might be even more dangerous to store it somewhere else because, rehypothecation and unallocated gold and lack of transparency and where it's being held and how many people have it. So what are some things that you guys have to do to like show, hey, this is what we're doing to eliminate risk. And this is how we actually have it.
Yeah, look, there's two things, right? Well, first, if you're an APMEX customer and you want to take your gold eagles and store it, we have a partnership with Brinks. And what they do is they individually store your inventory, literally individual lockers. So, if you just don't want it in your home, maybe you feel uncomfortable, you don't have the proper levels of insurance, just it's too risky for you. We call it Citadel. You can buy, or you can even send in. You can have metal at your home right now. Send it in. We'll authenticate it, make sure it's real gold and silver. And then we'll send it to Brinks and it'll be held on your behalf. We make sure our insurance policies are always 2x what the amount of inventory actually being stored there. And it's a tier 1 vault that I believe we all can trust, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's on the physical side if you want to own it, but you don't want to have it in your home. Mm-hmm. On the OneGold side, what we do is we have a top 5 accounting firm. It's RSM, by the way. So they come in, they audit twice a year. We get an attestation statement that they did the audit. We make that available to our customers. By the way, we're about to put that all online. Rather than you have to call and ask for it and we'll send it to you, we're going to put it online where you can actually see the audit and see their
great.
documentation. They agree that the inventory is there. We do that twice a year. Like I said, we audit around the world, by the way. So we have metal in the US, in Canada, we have it in Switzerland, we have it in London. And we literally have them audit it around the world for us and give us attestations that the metal's there, which we think is critically important. All of our vaulting partners also have to have insurance to verify that if there's any loss within their facility, they're responsible and it covers any losses so we can reimburse our customers in case of that loss, which again has never happened that we know of, but it's one of those things we take very seriously. So, from our standpoint, with the audit, with the tier one partners, and then most importantly is you're doing business with APMEX, which is the largest player in precious metals. We have an investment from Sprott, one of the largest alternative investment providers in the world as well. You're not dealing with Tom, Dick, and Harry, who's not been in precious metals, who doesn't know what they're doing. You're dealing with the best of the best, who's done 13 billion in business, who has 1.5 million customers, who generally is around because they do it the right way. I think that's very important. You go out and buy a stable coin backed by gold, who are you doing business with?
Right.
I think there's a lot of question marks there. And by the way, we think that's why OneGold has done so well is trust. You got to be able to trust who you're doing business with. And we actually had a guy, I don't know, Craig Hemke from TFMR. We invited Craig down. Unfortunately, he was supposed to be here today, actually, but he had a sickness in the family. We said, Craig, come on down for your listeners. You inspect the entire operation. You look at the attestations. I want you to come in and see it, live it, touch it, and then report out to your customers exactly what you saw. Because we think it's important that people, can trust us, and we want to be transparent as much as we can.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And from the trust side, there's probably, I could count on one hand the number of companies that are trying to do something similar that I would ascribe any level of any degree of trust to. The other differentiating factor for you guys is the technology. And we talked about this at the beginning, but it's just so easy. You mentioned stable coins backed by gold. Just for fun, imagination. Let's say history repeats itself. We've seen fiat fail so many times through history, and it always goes back to a gold or a silver standard, something like that. But in today's day and age, the big narrative right now is technology has changed things, and that's why Bitcoin will take over, or at least some sort of CBDC or another cryptocurrency. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, okay, but let's just postulate or imagine, let's say it does go back to, let's say, gold standard. What role do you see technology playing in allowing gold to be an actual really easy store of value and medium of exchange? And could OneGold maybe play a role in that? I'm thinking like debit cards and things like that.
Yeah, no, we put a lot of thought into it. And when we built OneGold, and again, I get this digital background, so I don't know if my phone shows up very well, but the app is so clean and so easy, and it makes it our goal in OneGold was to bring the masses to precious metals, right? We want people to understand its virtues. You and I can look at the data and I could tell you, hey, did people know that gold was the second best performing asset class in the last 20 years? There we go, really? I thought it was a safe haven investment where I just kind of hedge it. No, actually it's a pretty good performing asset class. So, but people don't recognize that. They don't really look at gold as a viable option a lot of times. And we're trying to make it viable and make it easy. And that's what the app was meant to do. Now, beyond that, when we built the app and we built the concept, we looked at going the crypto route. We looked at how could we make it where maybe gold could be a payment. You can use it for payments. You could use it to share with your friends. You can go down these different paths. The reason why we didn't do that is, frankly, was regulatory reasons, right? Because crypto the regulatory side has not been figured out, it scared the death out of us. Yeah. We don't want to launch a product and have our customers then have the government knocking on your door, asking for this and this and that. We need it to be clean. We need to have legal attorneys saying you're doing the right thing. We want to make sure we're not going to get ourselves in trouble in how we approach it. I do strongly believe, though, when the government gets involved, we need them to provide structure to protect us as consumers, in my opinion. And when they do that, then we can look at now, how do we take gold or how do we take technology and leverage it in ways we never dreamed of? I tell a story, right? It's probably not the perfect story for crypto, but it tells you where I think the future's going. I was in China. I don't know if I told you this story before. I was in China with my daughter, and we were over there, and we were basically, vacationing. And I noticed that everybody used their phone. Everyone used their phone to transact. You never saw physical currency trade hands, ever. They were using the WeChat app. They were scanning the QR codes. They were passing money back and forth, and they were doing everything through technology, everything. And the banking systems enabled that, and the technology of the phones was a key part of the solution. And you think, well, if that can be done in China, where could this thing ultimately go? And I believe the blockchain and crypto and the infrastructure is going to allow us to do some things that the old school banking systems just never allowed us to do in the past. Now, where does gold fit into that? I think it's going to come down to a stable coin, or in the case of OneGold, I'm not so sure we're ever going to be a payments provider where you can go like the gold standard, say, hey, I'm going to do all my business in gold. I just don't see us doing that. We look at OneGold as an investment option, meaning if you want to invest, OneGold's your perfect solution. But if you're looking to use it to transact with and buy your car or go out and buy your groceries, our vision is, why would you want to spend gold? Why would you not want to save it? And we've kind of distanced ourselves from that concept for now. There are people out there that are using a debit card where they'll liquidate your gold the minute you go out and buy your groceries. But they charge you 50 basis points every time you transact.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man. I've gotten used to using my debit or credit card and not paying any fees, paying off my credit card bill every month, and just using it as an easy way of transacting. I don't want to pay 50 bips every single time I go out and buy something. It's just not worth it to me. So I don't know if I answered your question as much as where OneGold's going. I think there's great potential in Bitcoin, crypto, as a payment provider, as a source of sharing your wealth. But I'm not so sure OneGold's going to play in that, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. So basically, currently the regulatory environment kind of prevents a lot of these really innovative things from being tried out in the industry. And probably that goes back to the government just saying, hey, we want you to use dollars for for lending and borrowing and spending and taxing. But ultimately down the road, it's possible that, things like stable coins, or there's a kind of a conjunction there. But at least for now, it's more of an investment rather than
and Joseph, what I'll tell you, our vision, I'll tell you a couple of things we're working on, right, on OneGold. We're going to offer foreign currencies for everyone around the world here very soon. We've got a deal, Wells Fargo, they're a bank of record. We're going to be able to offer 28 different currencies. So anyone around the world can own OneGold in their local currency. That's where we're going. We think that's very important. We're also going down a path where if you want to borrow against your gold, we're going to give you the ability to do that with a couple of taps on your phone. It's kind of like taking out a second mortgage. Guess what? I'm already holding the metal. I don't have any risk. I can give you a very attractive cost of money because it's kind of collateralized, if you will.
Right.
And now you're going to be able to borrow money if you need that money. Now, it's not meant to be a margin account where you're borrowing and buying more metal. That's really not our intent. It's where you're borrowing and you go out and pay for kids' college tuition, and then you're going to basically be able to pay that back down. We can do that in a OneGold platform, and the regulatory side enables me to do that, by the way. It's very, very simple to do.
Gotcha.
And then the final thing we're working on is, right now in the short term, is we're very close to signing a deal where you'll be able to earn your rewards point on a credit card in gold. So, the 1% payback, 1.5% payback cards, soon you're going to be able to go out and use a card. We've got a brand name I can't share yet. We've got a really cool card coming. And then you'll be able to say, hey, I want my money to go into my OneGold account, and then I want to auto invest that. Once the money's dropped in, I want to buy gold or silver. We're going to give you that ability to do that. So now, rather than spend your gold or silver, you're actually earning gold and silver as you spend your fiat.
Sure.
It's a step in the right direction, we think.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's really exciting. I'm glad to hear we got a couple exciting things coming down the road. Hey, well, this was really enlightening. I'm really excited. Number one, like I just said about, the things that you guys have coming out, but also everything going on in the precious metals market right now. It's been a rough 6 to 7 months for especially for gold holders, but everything, from macroeconomics, monetary policy, fiscal policy, at some point, they're going to push rates back down, probably send gold flying from there. And I'm just, excited about everything going on right now from that perspective. So I really appreciate you spending the time and giving us your insights on what's going on behind the scenes.
Well, thanks again. And look, your customers have been great on the OneGold platform, and we do appreciate it. And on the APMEX side, I love to see you showing a bar that has the APMEX brand on it. Look, we're big believers in physical, whether it's physical that I'm holding for you or physical that I'm shipping to your home. I think your listeners should think about gold and silver as a long-term play. Don't think
Sure.
about it as a quick buck. Think about it as an overall portfolio strategy. Think about it in terms of years, not months, and you're going to be okay. And history shows you're going to be okay. No one can time it. If we could all time it, we'd all be rich.
Right.
And don't try to even attempt to try to time it. Just kind of stay committed, dollar cost average, and it'll be your friend in the long term, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you again for the time, and all the best of luck to you and APMEX and OneGold and everything coming down the line. I'll looking forward to it.
Thanks, buddy.